His ex-fiancée is 30. Not in the US. I have two older brothers. This is about the middle one. Our parents split when I was quite young, owing to our mother's irrational jealousy. My father was able to deal with it at first, but when she made comments about wanting me to be like his wife, he had had enough. She quickly reconnected with a man with two children and shared custody for a period. But when my father remarried, she went insane, calling his new wife every awful term and claiming he had cheated on her while they were married. I was always closer to my brothers and father than my mother, who was always harsh to me. Long story short, my stepmother died in a horrific car accident and my father contacted her in the middle of the night to tell her he would pick us up earlier so we could attend the burial. She chose to take us on a nice trip instead to commemorate something. It was the happiest we had ever seen her, and when we understood what had happened and began crying, she informed us that only useless people cry for prostitutes. Needless to say, things escalated, and my father requested full custody with visitation privileges for her. He always kept the lines of communication open and paid for us to see her after she moved away, but it was still really unpleasant. We began reducing contact with her as soon as we turned 18. We last saw her at my high school graduation, where she made it a point to tell everyone that we were ungrateful kids, and her husband also called us names. We have remained no contact, NC, since then. My brother Sam began dating his ex 3 years ago. She had heard all of the stories and reasons we were NC, but she thought we were being theatrical. They had many disagreements because of her ideas, but she ultimately appeared to abandon the "you need to reconcile with your mother" crusade. Throughout the wedding preparation process, there was no sign that anything was incorrect or suspicious. Then, on the wedding day, we arrived at the church and saw our mother, her husband, and two children sitting in the front row. I instantly panicked and contacted my brothers. Sam suspected she had found out and wanted to crash the wedding, so he called his ex to tell her of the potential turmoil. She assured him that everything was fine because she had invited them. Sam hung up and asked me to go fetch him while our older brother handled things at the church. We went home and barricaded ourselves, even while his ex, her family, friends, and others attempted to reason with him. Mom's spouse even called to say he had always known we were useless. Now that the dust has settled, the majority of Sam's friends and family support him. Our father's ex-in-laws have already threatened to sue for the money they paid for the wedding if Sam does not marry her, but Sam says he would rather repay them than marry someone who has betrayed him. Our nuclear family wholeheartedly supports Sam, but the blowback has been massive. Edit. You just reassured us all, so thank you. Some have asked, and she hasn't apologized. She also texted my oldest brother Joe, saying she felt inviting our mother would be a nice wedding gift for Sam because she values family. My father purchased them a house as a wedding present, but only Sam is on the paperwork. She had keys for when they moved in, but we only got the locks changed today. Joe and other cousins are relocating Sam's belongings from her apartment this week. We aren't concerned about being sued, but we will consult a lawyer just in case. We also learned that Mom and her family are still in town, but because we're all staying at our childhood home for a few days, we don't mind. My father is saddened that Sam is heartbroken, but he is doing his best to cheer him up, along with my boyfriend and sister-in-law. I had to deactivate my social media accounts because I was receiving abusive remarks and messages, but the more people hear about why Sam fled, the less messages I receive. I am still sorry that she was humiliated, but my brother comes first. Edit 2. I questioned Joe about the aftermath at the church, and it was precisely what I imagined. He claims he stood up in front of everyone and informed them Sam wasn't coming and that they should go home. All presents delivered to our side of the family will be promptly returned. The ex was still outside the church when someone from her family notified her. And she began yelling and wailing, constantly contacting Sam. Mom tried to speak with Joe, but he didn't even glance at her. When she couldn't obtain a reaction from him, she burst into tears, lamenting how cruel we are to her. Some people began to console her, as is customary for her, but Joe and his wife were unconcerned. When they left the church, the ex was waiting for them and demanded to see Sam. Joe resisted, telling her no. Then she wanted to know what to do about the party, to which Joe said that if she didn't want the venue, he would arrange for the food to be distributed to the workers so that it didn't go to waste. Everyone was shouting except Joe, who kept calm since he didn't want to satisfy Mom. Joe and my sister-in-law returned home after stopping at the store and various fast food restaurants, and we've been inside the house like kids again, with a few more members. When we asked Sam if he wanted them to leave, he insisted on staying. We had all planned to spend time with our families following the wedding, so it was not an issue. When the ex arrived at the gate, we understood she was not going to use the venue, so my sister-in-law called the venue with Sam's information and asked them to give the food. She also sent some advice for their problems. It appears that we will receive all of the alcohol that my father paid for, so we will be pretty drunk by the end of the year. A few people messaged me, asking why our father ever married our mother. The answer is simple: he adored her and felt she was the nicest person imaginable. It turned out she wasn't, but she knew no one else, except possibly her unpleasant husband, would marry her unless she seemed to be kind. Dad even considered staying with her until we were grown-ups, but her condition worsened. She used to be really sweet, and he thought she was changing, but she would then revert back. As for my ex-sister-in-law, we have no doubt she feels our mother is a nice person with ungrateful children since she can be incredibly charming. Some individuals find it amusing to make fun of others as long as it is not directed at them, but this does not excuse what she did. Sam's only explanation was to his boss, who attended the wedding. His boss was quite kind and surprised by what our mother put us through, given how well adjusted and happy we appear. Our father stated it was a shock for all of us, and he told Sam to stay home for as long as he needed. Sam is returning home for the time being. I showed the post to my family, who were affected by your thoughtfulness. Sam wants you to know that his ex-fiancée did not exhibit any alarming behaviors, and he honestly believes she understood his upbringing. He agreed to meet with her and her parents today, but only if it was at our house, where we could support him. It will be an interesting visit. Update: Sam lost some money, but it will not affect him. Her parents paid for her outfit, a very beautiful cake and a portion of the honeymoon. His ex wasn't the most popular in-law, but we believe she adored Sam. We don't have any touch with Mom's side. Joe used to communicate with our grandmother, but after his wedding, another disaster, he cut her off too. Mom's statements about me wanting to be the wife stemmed from her idea that we shouldn't have daddy-daughter days. However, there were also Daddy Joe and Daddy Sam days. Dad constantly attempted to spend time with us, both individually and as a group. She's just unwell. We don't advertise our childhood, so when others inquire about our parents, the typical response is, "It's just my dad." Or "It's just my siblings and my dad." Most people assume Mom is deceased, avoiding the unpleasant question about why we don't speak to her. Mom's stepchildren are both male and in their early 30s. Our father now has a long-term girlfriend, and we really enjoy her. She's been doing her own thing over the last 3 days, but she says we have her full support. The update: I was curious why Sam agreed to the meeting after not speaking with her, but it turns out she sent videos and images of all his possessions on the floor to his best buddy, Tom, and threatened to burn or destroy everything unless Sam spoke with her. Tom went to see Sam and told him what had transpired. They advised her that they needed entry to the flat before anything could happen. Tom, Joe, a few cousins, and my boyfriend went over to pack Sam's clothes, devices, and crucial documentation. Sam joked that they were the fastest moving staff he'd ever witnessed. The meeting, for lack of a better term, was absurd. She arrived with her parents and sisters and attempted to speak to Sam alone, but when he refused, she simply began chatting. Not once did she apologize. She stated it was not her fault that we don't appreciate the value of a true family and were trained to despise mothers. She stated that her main purpose was to teach Sam to value mothers because she was terrified he would take her children from her, as he had been taught to do. Sam said nothing until she called our family a cult and humiliated our father. As you might expect, this is a sore subject for all of us, and we won't let anyone insult our father. Sam went off on her, calling her a disgusting liar, stating he was horrified that he had ever held her hand, and thanking the world that I am always early to everything. He informed her that sticking with a dishonest husband, like her mother did, is not anything to be proud of. He claimed she had merely pretended to be kind so that he would marry her. He then detailed all of the small faults he had overlooked because he sincerely loved her, or at least who he believed she was. Sam stated that he would never forgive her for the suffering she caused his siblings, but he did not hate her because she did not deserve so much of his attention. He concluded by saying she had had enough time to straighten things up and that because she acted like the victim, he would make sure everyone understood why he didn't attend the wedding. It was horrible, but it was therapeutic and important for Sam. Her parents said nothing but were clearly embarrassed. She cried, and her sisters attempted to defend her and their parents' relationship, expecting us to argue back, but we did not. Sam then told his ex-fiancée's father, Phil, that he could sue if he wanted, but that doing so would expose all of his family's dirty laundry to the world, which he doubted Phil would want to see. Amazingly, Phil continued to urge that Sam should try to make amends and marry his ex since they're not getting any younger, and all families fight. I have never rolled my eyes harder. The remainder of the meeting was spent on logistics, returning wedding gifts, ceasing harassment from their relatives, canceling the honeymoon, and changing the locks. Sam's ex was crying and attempting to talk to him, but Sam was all business and didn't want anything from her. He only answered directly when she mentioned keeping the engagement ring, even though no one had requested it. Later, when the booze arrived, our mother and husband crept through the gate when it opened. She said she just wanted to talk to her baby boys. My father requested her to go, but she insisted that he had raised us incorrectly and that we had embarrassed her with our actions. She couldn't believe we were such bad people, and suggested we make amends with her because we clearly lacked maternal love. She got it right, and the outcome was pathetic. Joe walked outside and ordered her to go since the cops were on their way. She took advantage of the chance to cry because it was Joe's first conversation with her in roughly 10 years. She tried to persuade him to join her and her husband for dinner, but Joe simply urged her to go and stated that the only thing he wanted to hear about her was when her burial was, so he could rejoice. Mom cried hysterically, while her husband screamed, demanding an explanation and even threatening to strike Joe. My father and Joe went back inside and left them at the gate until we noticed they had finally left. Then we closed the gate. Some people struggle to comprehend why we behave the way we do, yet what I've said about our mother is only the tip of the iceberg. Dad wasn't very proud of what Joe said, but he saw that Joe needed to express himself and was speaking on behalf of all of us. Maybe this makes us awful people, but we really don't want to see her again. We will all have family therapy sessions in addition to individual ones. Sam no longer wants the house, but Dad advises him to take things slowly, with the first step being to mend his heart. We've been watching horror movie marathons, with a few Disney oldies thrown in, and we've even created a drama bingo game with all of the possible outcomes. I suppose we are dramatic after all. We love each other and we're educated to treat others with respect, yet when pushed, we can be petty. While I would never wish to be abandoned at the altar, I would do it again because I adore my brother more than I feel sorry for her. We'll go on a family trip someday, but for now, we'll just enjoy spending time together. To the individual who said Joe is a hero, his siblings could not have asked for a greater brother and friend. We have read all of your letters and would like to thank everyone for allowing us to vent, for the awards, and for their support. Sorry if my English isn't great. Joe and Sam are clearly fictitious names, but I hope you understand. Also, my brothers are reading your remarks and want you to know how much they appreciate your positive attitude. To anyone in a similar circumstance, know that things will get better. Update 2. Some clarifications. You're welcome to PM us, even if you are insulting us, but I will only answer publicly. To the individual who wrote me a harsh essay accusing Joe of being parentified, here's my response. My brothers spent time with me because they wanted to. We had special days together, and they did anything they pleased. They had a large circle of friends and traveled both with and without me. There were nannies, family members, and my father, so they were never obliged to bring me along. They enjoyed a great deal of freedom, within reason. Our parents split when I was 3, and despite shared custody, we spent 90% of our time with Dad. We only went to see our mother in pairs. Joe and Sam only paid her visits once she turned 18, and I had to accompany them because they didn't want me alone. We've all been in therapy for a while, but now we're having extra sessions because we saw our mother again. Joe was the only one to interact with her. We also know how to defend ourselves. Joe confronted our mother on his own. We did not ask him to do so. Why didn't my dad accompany Joe to church? Because Sam begged our father to go home, we didn't think he needed to visit our mother again, even though he had to speak with her later. Sam has cried. He is not a monster. He is simply heartbroken. He believed he could spend the rest of his life with Daniela, that he was a good judge of character, and that he would never have to face our mother again. There are many emotions, but because of our upbringing, we've gotten quite skilled at controlling our feelings with people we don't trust or like. We learned this survival ability as a result of how we were treated. Joe had a relationship with our grandma, but he stopped communicating with her after she invited our mother to his wedding as her +1. The location did not host any religious ceremonies, and security had a no-entry list. Joe sent Grandma a note and never spoke with her again. We also did not attend her funeral. The wedding had roughly 250 attendees, and Daniela used different names on the seating chart, so we didn't know about the invitation. By the way, Daniela is not Brazilian, and my father wanted me to let you know that his children are not alcoholics. He's worried that people will believe we are, even though this is anonymous, lol. Anyway, this week has been crazy. Those who advised being prepared for the pregnancy technique were right on. She announced online that she was pregnant, leading others to stress out and phone Sam to see whether it was true. Sam called her and urged her to remove the post, but she kept insisting she was pregnant. He told her they needed to talk, so she erased the post and met up with him. This woman assumed he wanted her back. I accompanied Sam to meet her. She was joyful until she saw me enter the room, at which point she burst into tears and clutched her tummy. Sam questioned her whether she was truly pregnant, and she responded yes, claiming she did not want her child to grow up in a shattered home. Sam insisted on going to the doctor right away to confirm, and she cried even more, yelling that he didn't believe her. Long story short, she was not pregnant. However, following the encounter, she claimed online that Sam was pressuring her to have an abortion and that she was upset. As you may guess, this was terrible, and people were phoning Sam, unsure what to trust anymore. When my sister-in-law, Anna, learned about the posts, she called Daniela. I am not sure what was stated during that chat, but I have never seen Anna so upset. The posts were removed, but Anna sent an email to everyone on the wedding list explaining everything, including the fact that Daniela was never pregnant. This morning, we learned that Daniela had a breakdown and left voicemails for Sam stating that if she couldn't be with him, she wanted to die. This is straight out of our mother's playbook, so Sam called the cops and reported what had occurred. Her family put her into therapy, and she is currently being monitored. None of this makes us happy, but we don't want to be involved anymore. We've already changed our phone numbers and requested new ones. Our mother even emailed Anna, threatening to sue her for defamation over the email campaign, but we aren't worried. Anna's parents are wonderful and fully back how she handled the situation. Joe was upset, but Anna persuaded him to let go and move forward. Mom's spouse has been charming as usual, and Dad is considering a restraining order, which isn't very effective where we live. We had a great time together at home yesterday. There was karaoke, dancing, delicious food and beverages, games, and even a bouncy house, because why not? We adore them. Most people avoided discussing the wedding and the drama, but those who did so in an appropriate manner. Dad has already handed most of the alcohol he paid for as wedding gifts to his employees, allowing them to select one bottle each. He's also including bottles in his Christmas gift baskets this year. We are spending the holidays together and traveling. I told Sam about a new paint color for the house, but he simply does not want to live there anymore. He plans to rent it out. When I joked about eloping or not having a formal wedding to avoid turmoil, Joe told me unequivocally that if I chose to marry, I would have the largest party ever. He is still the finest. Thank you for all of your wonderful comments and messages, not the negative ones, awards, and interest in our situation. And to all the lovely Danielas out there. Sorry, but this is not about you. Holiday update, thank you for your continued interest. It's always enjoyable to log in and keep you updated on the situation. First, a few points. Hello, finest subreddit and YouTube, you've become part of our family lore. I read every single comment and message. Some people commented that I lacked a feminine figure in my life, although I had my grandmother, aunts, and others. Rita, my father's girlfriend, is not a mother figure, and I do not consider myself a bad woman because of it. When I got my period, my father had a complete plan in place. He told my brothers, and they each took their own method. It may sound awkward to me, but it was even more so for them. It's a funny story that makes me realize how much they care about me. Rita is great, and we adore her. She doesn't mind not being married to Dad, and he doesn't want to marry again, but if he did, we'd support him. Daniela's sisters attempted to stir up more trouble by accusing us of being nasty people, but after Anna's email, no one believed them. One of her sister's boyfriends even broke up with her because he didn't want to be associated with such a nasty family. I will not tell you where we live or what Dad does for a living, so please do not ask again. We have new phone numbers, social media identities, and are preparing a move. Joe and I also have some news. I keep a short note with fictitious names, and I type my posts in Word to prevent stumbling over my babbling. My father wants you all to know that your applications to the cult have been accepted. Anyway, I looked at the last update and couldn't believe it was only in early November. I mostly have positive news for you. Sam's doing great. He's taking time off work, and his supervisor is quite accommodating, telling him he may return when he's ready. He lives with Dad and has adequate savings, so he isn't concerned about money. He has taken up jogging and intends to compete in a marathon next year. Sam is gradually returning to his goofy self, and he is actively assisting Dad in renovating their home, primarily by painting rooms and creating murals. They're having a great time. Daniela wrote Sam a note, but he returned it. The house was listed as a rental, which Sam is fine with. Now for some more exciting news. I am engaged? It turns out that this has been planned for months, and when I joked about eloping, my future husband Matt panicked because he assumed I had worked out his plot. He had already spoken with Sam, who was aware of the proposition but did not want to make him uncomfortable. Joe, and my father. My father gave Matt a hard time when he asked for my hand, saying it was not his to give, but it was all in good fun. The proposal happened earlier this month, and I'm overjoyed. But not as much as my father, who insists on escorting me down the aisle, even if it's a civil wedding. While my news is fantastic, the other major announcement in the family is much better. Joe and Anna had been on the adoption list for a while, and a few weeks ago, they welcomed a baby girl. She is the most gorgeous, charming, and perfect baby ever. The adoption is final, as it usually is with infants in our nation. We knew they wanted to adopt, so when they told us the baby was finally theirs, there were many happy tears. Dad is in full grandpa mode, and despite some difficult circumstances this year, this is by far the nicest thing that has happened to our family. Unfortunately, our mother learned about the baby and requested to meet her. She has been served with our version of a restraining order, and we are determined to keep her from seeing the baby if at all possible. These are the negative news updates. Because of the new COVID version, we decided to stay at home for the holidays and hold a little Christmas celebration to welcome the baby and commemorate our engagement. Joe and his wife were unable to attend in person because the baby was too young, but they participated via Zoom. We also agreed to give Sam some stupid gifts, like Julia Roberts t-shirts and mugs, because he's the family's runaway bride. Joe and I are considering moving because we currently live in flats and would like to reside in a house. We're still a little shaken up by everything, and we know we have some emotional work to do, but we're focused on the good because the bad is in the minority. Whatever happens, I'll always be grateful for my family. I suppose this will be the final update, people. I realize the previous few have been mainly drama-free and perhaps not as thrilling, but we're hoping for less drama in our lives. I have no plans to erase anything, so the account will remain active in case something important happens. I wish you all a fantastic end of year and an amazing 2022. 2022 catch-up. Hello cult. I suppose it is time for a little update for those who are still interested. First, a few points. Yes, Spanish is our native tongue. Adoptions in our country are final and managed by the government, with open adoptions being rare. Joe and Anna have been wanting to have a family through adoption for quite some time. When I mentioned hummus before, it was like when they announced the Pope, LOL. We are now 35, 33, and 29. HB was supposed to stand for husband, but I adore how some of you understood it as huge bastard. Either works, honestly. Joe and I relocated as anticipated last year, and the year has been relatively uneventful. Daniela, on the other hand, surprised everyone by revealing that she is pregnant and that Sam is the father. The strange thing is, Sam cannot be the father because he was not even in the country when the baby was conceived. She had no way of knowing, however. Sam has offered to perform a paternity test several times, but she refuses. Legally, Sam is fine. He just feels awful for her baby. Daniela's father even attempted to sue Sam for emotional distress on behalf of both of his daughters, Daniela and the one whose boyfriend departed. But nothing came of it, thanks to Joe, who is a lawyer. I promise that this information is related to this catch-up. Sam chose not to take any action against Daniela's father since he has too many responsibilities and feels sorry for the family. Our mother still insists on meeting the baby, but it will never happen. She used one of her favorite tactics, pretending she has cancer. She contacted Joe and Anna via their work emails, pleading with them to help her meet the baby since she is critically ill and may require a transplant. This is the 6th time she has claimed to have cancer, but the truth is that she has had it 0 times. She enjoys the attention, sorrow, and drama that evil individuals bring forth in others. We never believed her, of course, but we didn't expect her to make a spectacle of herself by contacting Anna's mother via Facebook. Anna's mother is a gorgeous, devout Catholic lady, so mother may have felt she was simple to manipulate. Mother told her about the cancer and how heartbroken she was that she would not be able to meet the baby. Anna's mother asked a few questions concerning the diagnosis and therapy, which made no sense as predicted. She then blocked her and shared the screenshots on her wall. It's similar to high school drama, but with more mature characters and witty comebacks. Other than that, the baby is absolutely happy and healthy. The only point of contention was what to call Rita, Dad's girlfriend. Our mother insisted Rita had no right to be called Grandma. Joe and Anna spoke with Rita, and they all agreed that for all intents and purposes, she is Grandma Rita, and our mother can do nothing about it. Sam's doing great. He resigned his job and embarked on his own venture. He is still living in the family home, renting out the second house, and is seeing someone. She's polite, knows about the drama, bakes beautiful cakes, and knows how to knit. We like her, so we're optimistic and cautious. They're taking things slowly, but it's great to see him with someone like this. He also continued to paint rooms with Dad, and the results are painfully comical and stupid, like something you'd see in kindergarten. Please keep in mind that I adore them. Dad contracted COVID for the first time, and he became so afraid that he decided to rewrite his will. That's why Joe's profession is important. They wanted Sam and me to know about it after they were done. Everything Dad has is divided into 4 parts, 3 for his children and the remaining quarter for any grandkids. However, the family home will not be divided and will soon be transferred into my name. I was perplexed, but Joe and Dad reviewed it and decided I could have it, but only if Sam agreed. He did, and he's pleased with it. They didn't provide many explanations, other than that it was the correct thing to do. I believe it's partly because I'm the baby of the family, but that's fine. Joe acquired a house in the same neighborhood as our family home, so while we're not on the same block, we're close. Matt and I are no longer buying anything because I will be getting the house, which makes no sense. We relocated to the family home, which has been interesting yet enjoyable. Dad has started semi-retirement and is spending more time at Rita's, which benefits everyone. Sam, of course, can stay as long as he likes, but his murals must go, LOL. We're still engaged, happy, enjoying babysitting, and not pregnant. But we bought a kitten this spring. We're planning a wedding in December and couldn't have asked for a nicer year-ending celebration. So that is it, no drama, or at least not much drama. We're making progress and healing at a steady pace, which is exactly what we want. In case you're wondering why I'm posting now, one of us is a big admirer of the best of Redditor updates and reminded us of the posts. Anyway, hello from the cult, and we wish you everyone a fantastic final few months of 2022. 2023. Catch up, welcome to Reddit. First, as tradition dictates, we now have 2 cats. Sam moved in with his girlfriend, and we're so glad he's happy again. Dad has semi-moved in with Rita, which has been heartbreaking, but we remain cheerful and supportive of one another. Let us start with the negative news. It turns out that there was cancer on our mother's side, but not hers. One of her stepchildren got it and died earlier this year. She's milking it for all it's worth, and we're furious with her as always. While we sympathize with her loss, we will not change our no contact, NC policy with her and her entire family. Daniela had her kid, a very lovely boy who is clearly not Sam's, not that we ever doubted it. She tried to get him to acknowledge the baby and sign some paperwork, but he refused, and after the paternity test, there was nothing she could do. She lost it when she found out Sam was genuinely dating, and it only got worse when he moved in with his girlfriend. She still feels he is the one for her and is focused on that notion. She even attempted to cyberbully the GF, but this woman is composed of something different. Oh, and the father of her child is a married co-worker in his 50s, which is a whole other story, but not ours to handle. Sam moved in with his girlfriend, and he's still in therapy, as we all are, but he's doing much better. His girlfriend is highly well-liked and adored by the family. She understands all that has transpired and has blended seamlessly. Sam is doing well in other areas too and has already completed his first marathon. The timing wasn't ideal, but he did it. Joe, Anna and the baby are all quite pleased. They are still on the list to adopt because they want to have at least one more child. I also wanted to explain that in my country, adoptions are not handled via agencies. You're put on a list after certain tests and interviews to determine whether you're a good candidate, and when a match is made, you get the baby. That baby is yours, and that's it. I understand that this may sound ambiguous, but keep in mind that we are not from the United States, and things differ from country to country. Aside from that, she is simply the best baby ever. I may be biased, but she truly is. Baby is also frequently told no, since we all believe she shouldn't be spoiled, or at least not too spoiled. She has a room at our house and a playpen at Sam's because they are still seeking for a permanent residence, and Sam and his girlfriend work from home. Dad is currently living with Rita. They are really pleased and have lately done a few of excursions. They like being grandparents and are very hands-on. They now claim to have 3 grandbabies, because the cats occasionally visit their home. It's hilarious because my father wasn't initially enthusiastic about getting cats, but now he takes photos of all his babies and prints the finest ones because that's what he's accustomed to. He shares progress reports with his pals, and they often wonder if he's talking about the cats or the baby because he's so enthusiastic about everything they do. In my perspective, he gets kids far too many toys, but apparently that is what grandfathers do, LOL. We were married in December. My father led me down the aisle, despite the fact that we did some unconventional things for our nation. Joe was Matt's best man, while Sam was my best maid. He insisted on being referred to as Julio throughout the wedding planning process. Our mother tried to attend the wedding. She even tried to persuade Anna's mother to help her, but Anna's mother said nothing. Some of mother's relatives thought it was undignified, not sure if that's the correct term, to have Rita there instead of my own mother, but I believe it's horrible to condone her actions. To each their own. We had a great time, and it was not stressful at all. Nobody fled, yelled out in grief, or attempted to cause a scene. We're rebuilding a portion of the house to make it more ours, and moving out of my childhood bedroom, but so far, everything is going well for the cult. Sam received fewer Julia Roberts-themed gifts this year, but he proudly wears his t-shirts all year long. Finally, Sam's girlfriend has approached us about proposing to him when the time is perfect, so who knows, maybe this time he'll make it to the altar. Am I the asshole for skipping my friend's birthday without warning, because his girlfriend called me the typical girl best friend? Original post. Miles and I have known each other since we were 2 because our parents are best friends. Now I would not say Miles is my best friend. He is a good friend and we do hang out on occasion but see each other on all major holidays because of our parents. We are in our early 20s. The problem started because of a dumb childhood memory. When we were 8, we had a wedding play at school after care. I played the bride and the groom. It was a play. With horrible songs and uncoordinated kids. Obies, our parents made pictures and videos of that. And we each have one picture on our family picture walls. Miles is dating Lindy. They met 3 years ago and started dating last year. Lindy does not like me. So every time we coincide at a celebration, she makes a comment about me being the typical girl best friend. She once said that I secretly wanted to sleep with Miles. I have no clue where she got that impression from. Miles and I have different friend groups and schedules. Besides the monthly catch-up over food, we didn't really meet that much. Things got worse when Lindy saw the wedding play picture. The comments just got more. She even started DMing me on Instagram saying she knew what game I was playing. I talked to Miles once about this, and he told me to give her time. So his birthday was on Saturday and I was invited. Lindy wrote me saying something along the lines that she was going to supervise me. This was their first birthday as a couple, and I was not allowed to take up his time. I was honestly just fed up. I tried talking to Miles once more, but he said the same thing. So I just skipped out. When the party started I wrote a quick sorry I can't come and told him my mother was going to bring his present. Now he is upset with me for missing his birthday. Lindy is mad that I made it all about myself, and my parents are upset I missed a family function. AITA? Edit, I didn't show anyone the messages because it didn't want to make more out of this than it is. I didn't want to poison anyone against Lindy, especially not if she is a new fixture in Miles's life. That would make both our lives more difficult. I hope that just talking about it might be the more adult thing. My parents are not mad at me or blowing up my phone. iReddit fashion. They and Miles' parents were just bummed out that this was the first birthday that I ever missed. As to why she is jealous, I have no idea. Neither of our parents ever wanted us to get together. There were no jokes or anything about it. I think they also never would want that. The wedding play picture is in the living rooms because they love the picture and it was our first play. Update. I will update you in the first part and clarify some things later. After my post, I talked to Miles. At first, he was kind of mad and thought I had been blowing things out of proportion. Some more details are in my last post. We came to the conclusion of taking more distance while he figures that all out. Mainly because I did not want the added stress of petty drama. Then I talked to my parents and explained to them what was going on. They were really upset by how Lindy treated me. Obviously they weren't going to get involved, but it was nice to get that off my chest. Then nothing else happened. Until Tuesday evening. Wednesday was a holiday, so some of my friends took the opportunity to go to an Irish pub to do karaoke. At some point my best friend and I went to pee and touch up our makeup. Then Lindy and some of her friends walked in and kind of cornered us. It wasn't pretty. They stared loudly talking about man-sealing bitches and how some women were just born to be homewreckers. And imagine being pathetic enough to pretend to be a guy's friend to fuck him and how pick-me's are the worst. They kept kind of edging us physically into the part where the hand dryers were while pretending we were not there. Until my best friend had enough and just pushed through them while pulling me behind her. We were almost at our table when Lindy went right behind me and pulled my hair, so that I fell backward onto like a metallic piece where you were supposed to put your feet on. It hurt so bad that I started to see white. And then a girl next to Lindy poured beer on me. I cannot really tell you what happened, but there was a scuffle, and someone dropped one of those heavy pint glasses on my head. The Lindys were taken away by police and I was taken to the hospital. My parents were furious, as were Miles's parents. They both came to the hospital. I was severely concussed, my nose was fractured, and the worst thing is that I have a hairline fracture in my back. I stayed in the hospital till yesterday morning. Miles did try calling me a bunch. According to my parents, they told him not to visit me right now. I did get an official notice saying that apparently there was now a legal case open against Lindy and one other girl for not only assault but also public disturbance in the bar. So now I'll have to deal with all that legally. I finally talked to Miles. And long story short, those of you saying Lindy was isolating him was a sign that an abusive relationship was right. He told me all the things she said to him to make him feel awful. She would freak out about anything in her life and take that out on him. She would scratch him and bite him when she was mad. Our talk ended with both of us crying and apologizing. We will be closer again. At least we can talk about these things more often. He broke up with her and is hiding at my parents' house. So that is it for now. Update 2. I'll update immediately and go into details later. There has been an official court date set for my process against Lindy. It took 2 months to get and is another 3 months out, but something is something. Our lawyer said that Lindy is probably not going to jail as she is a first-time offender. If she goes to jail it would be no more than 3 months. Most likely she is going to have to pay a fee of 100 days of her income or something like that. I have let my father deal with this 100% because I have no head for it. There is a second lawsuit going on at the same time as now I am legally chronically ill. The hairline fracture was not a passing thing but developed. I am in pain daily. Not every day is bad, but not a day passes where I am not in at least a 2 on the pain scale. As a result, I have not been able to work. Right now my insurance pays 75% of my former income and my workplace covers the rest. But I am probably going to get fired. So my insurance filed a claim against Lindy to pay my lost wages. I am right now not in contact with Miles. I tried to be supportive, but being disabled by his jealous ex-girlfriend made me bitter against him. He was a victim. But now I can't live my life. And I blame him partly for that. I am in therapy to work through all of that and have taken up some new hobbies. I have started to write more and am looking into courses or online classes. Miles's parents have been apologetic and have supported me a lot. His mother had been a saint. She volunteered to drive me everywhere, and I have actually become friends with her. We even went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. She is a SAHW, so we have a lot of time. One of Lindy's friends reached out through my lawyer, offering a testimony against her own friend. She also sent a letter apologizing. To make it short, Lindy had told them I was bullying her and that Miles had once already cheated on her with me. So that's where we are right now. Take care and shield your back. New update. Hey everyone. So, here we are again, and yeah, things have moved along, but honestly, I'm just tired. The first court date, it came and went. It was my insurance company versus Lindy, and surprise, she lost. She's on the hook for most of my lost wages, which is nice, I guess. I didn't have to be there the whole time, which I was grateful for because I've had enough of this mess. As for the criminal case, well, we don't even know if we'll end up going to court for that one. My lawyer is handling it, and I've handed the reins over to my dad because honestly, I've had it. I'm no legal expert, and after that insurance loss, Lindy's in a bad spot. Her legal team is apparently scrambling to do some serious damage control, but at this point, that's not my problem. More of Lindy's friends have crawled out of their hidey holes to give testimony. Turns out this wasn't her first rodeo. Another girl came forward with evidence of Lindy pulling similar stunts back in high school. This poor girl was just sitting next to Lindy's then boyfriend, being a normal human, and Lindy went off the rails, starting rumors and spreading literal breadcrumbs on her table to trigger her celiac disease. Yeah, she's that kind of psycho. No one could prove it at the time, but now, with all these friends popping up, it's all coming to light. And believe me, these girls didn't have some moral epiphany. They're just terrified of getting fired or having anything negative pop up in their records. The receipts are coming out, and it's getting uglier by the day. Now, let's talk about Miles, because that's a whole other dumpster fire. I'm still not speaking to him. Turns out he's known for a while that Lindy was threatening him with bad things if he didn't cut me off and make his parents stop talking to me. And this idiot laughed it off. Thought she meant breaking up with him or something. But no, she was dead serious, even started stalking me and one of his cousins. She made some fake profile and was sending cryptic messages to his cousin. What did Miles do? Talked her down. Yeah, that's it. She kept giving him ultimatums, and he just rolled with it. So, yeah, I'm even angrier at him now. He knew she was unhinged and didn't do a damn thing about it. He let her spiral while I got dragged through the mud. His dad finally got involved and dragged him to the police, where they filed reports about all the crap Lindy pulled. They have evidence now from the stuff with his cousin and even photos from when Lindy got physical with him. So at least something's happening on that front, but it's too little, too late if you ask me. As for Lindy, Well, she's gone radio silent. Except for TikTok, of course. My friends keep sending me her cringy videos, and it's honestly kind of disturbing. She's acting like nothing's happening, like her whole life isn't unraveling. She's got a new boyfriend now, and they're making those awful lip-sync videos together. I think she's living at his place, but who knows? Maybe her parents cut her off. Wouldn't be surprised. Oh, and the guy? Yeah, one of my friends looked him up. Let's just say he fits right into her pattern. As my grandma would say, there's a lid for every pot. On the health front, still nothing good to report. My pain hasn't improved, and I'm now waiting for a surgery appointment, which looks like it'll be early 2025. The pain is radiating to my left hip now, which is just great. I feel like that sad little dog from the Black Cauldron. But, hey, silver lining. I've made friends with a few of the nurses who work with me. One of them braids my hair, which is kind of sweet. I'm also seeing a physiotherapist regularly, mostly for massages at this point. It helps, but some days I feel like I'm just patching myself together with duct tape. The therapist suggested I start doing pool exercises, so now I'm in an aqua aerobics class for seniors. No, there isn't a disability-specific class in my town, and frankly, I didn't feel like looking too hard. The old ladies are a riot though. Well, except for one who always looks miserable, but honestly, I'm not one to talk. One piece of good news, I finally got approved for a wheelchair. So at least I can go out with my friends without feeling like my body is falling apart after an hour. I've also been taking a few university courses for fun and playing way too much Fallout. So there's that. And that's where we are. It's still a mess, but I'm just doing what I can to get through it. Thanks for sticking around, I guess. Mother-in-law deliberately infected my daughter with chickenpox. I'm livid, she doesn't think it's a big deal. I can hardly type this out because thinking about it makes me so angry. Earlier this year my husband, 31M, and I decided to spend Christmas with his family for the first time since my daughter was born last September. Since they live 12 hours away, we decided to stay for a few weeks before Christmas so they could spend loads of time with Annie, 13 months. We arrived early like we planned and everything was great. I've had a few disagreements with my mother-in-law Trish, 56F, in the past over my parenting style. She criticized me for using disposable diapers, buying baby food from the supermarket, and not raising Annie as an organic baby, but everything seemed great. After a day or two settling in, my husband and I decided to pick up a few gifts from a mall around an hour away before the last-minute rush kicked in. My father-in-law, a 60M, tagged along. Trish said she was happy to take care of Annie. We got back a few hours later and Annie was down for a nap on a blanket I didn't recognize. Trish said one of her friends dropped by and gave it as an early Christmas gift. It looked pretty old worn, but I figured one of her hippie friends was just recycling it. The next 2 weeks were fine, aside from Trish making a point to prepare meals for Annie from scratch. I mentioned this to my husband and he said to just let her be. Annie mostly mushed the food Trish gave her with her hands through the bowls on the floor, as she's been doing at the moment. Trish said it would take her a while to get used to nutritious meals. I was getting sick of her meddling, but it was only for a few weeks, so for the sake of the holidays I let it slide. The day after Christmas Annie was really unsettled and wouldn't stop fidgeting and crying. I took her temperature and she had a fever, so I kept an eye on her for the next few days and it thankfully started to go down. This morning, she started to get a rash and blisters on her arms and legs and I freaked out. I was packing a bag to drive to see a doctor when Trish asked where I was going. I told her Annie had a rash and I was taking her to see a doctor. She got a weird smug smile on her face and told me there was nothing to worry about. When I asked her what she was talking about, she said without even looking at Annie that what she had was just chickenpox. I asked her how she could possibly know that and she casually admitted one of her friend's grandkids had chickenpox a few weeks ago, so she asked them to wipe a blanket over the child's arms, legs and face and bring it to her house. At this point I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I asked if that blanket was the gift Annie was sleeping on. She said it was. I lost my shit. To be honest, I don't really remember what I said because I was up most of the night for 2 days checking on Annie. I just unleashed on Trish asking what the fuck was wrong with her. My husband and father-in-law came to try to calm things down and Trish dug in her heels and said chickenpox was the best and most natural thing for Annie to build up her immunity. I already have a vaccination schedule in place with my pediatrician and she was booked in to get immunized for chickenpox at 18 months. We drove to see the doctor and he confirmed she had it. He said I'll have to cut Annie's nails short and might have to tape socks on her hands while she sleeps because kids so young can scratch until they bleed and that will leave scars. On the drive back my husband started making excuses for Trish, that she was only doing what she thought was best. I couldn't believe he was defending her, and we fought most of the way home until I told him to stop talking to me. Annie's been scratching like crazy and I just had to tape socks over her hands. Trish tried to talk to me when we got back and I told her to get out of my sight. We were meant to stay until Wednesday, but I just finished packing up our stuff so we can leave first thing in the morning. I'm so angry I can't even think. Whenever I hear Trish moving around in the kitchen, my heart starts beating faster and I feel like going out there and grabbing her by the hair. I don't ever want to see her again or let my daughter see her again. What can I say to make her and my husband realize the enormity of what she's done? I don't think I can speak coherently to their faces until Annie gets better. TL.dr. Mother-in-law deliberately infected my daughter with chickenpox. I'm so angry I feel like physically harming her. I need advice on what to say to make her realize what she's done. Relevant comments. When asked why her daughter wasn't vaccinated for chickenpox, she's up to date on her vaccination schedule. She was vaccinated for measles a month ago and booked in to get the chickenpox vaccine at 18 months old, as normal. Top comments. Fruit punching. If someone did this to my child, deliberately infecting them with a disease without discussing it with me, with the malicious intent of undermining my parenting to teach me a lesson, they'd never see my child for extended periods or unsupervised again. Deleted. Your husband better step up and act like a father and stop acting like a son. Update. Thank you to everyone for your comments, inbox messages and advice after my original post. I read all the comments and messages and they genuinely helped, especially the home remedies on how to stop itching. Since my first post was locked and deleted, I hope it's okay to briefly summarize here. Over the holidays, my mother-in-law Trish, 56F, deliberately infected my daughter Annie, 1F, with chickenpox by wrapping her in an infected blanket while she was left alone with her for several hours. Trish didn't tell anyone what she had done until Annie came down with a horrible fever and rash. Annie was booked in for her chickenpox vaccination at 18 months, but Trish thought what she did is 100% normal, despite the fact it's caused Annie significant pain and distress, and now scarring to her face and arms. When I found out what she did, I was livid and had a shouting match with her and packed up our things to leave the very next morning. It soon came out my husband Jack didn't think Trish had done anything wrong. On to the update. I didn't think it would be possible, but things got worse. I got up first thing the next morning and started packing our stuff into the car. Once I opened it up, I kept the keys in my pocket since I was going in and out. Usually we use Jack's set and leave mine in my bag. While I was packing, he sat in the kitchen with Trish and my father-in-law at 60 and chatted and had coffee like nothing was wrong. Annie was mercifully still asleep, so I just gently belted her in and closed her door when Jack came out and asked if I had everything. I said we were good to go as soon as he was. He said okay, and calmly took out his key set and centrally locked the car, locking Annie in. I asked him what the hell he was doing and he said we wouldn't be leaving until I apologized to Trish. I think I was stunned into silence because he then took the chance to rehash what he said the previous day, that Trish thought she was doing what was best, that chicken pox doesn't kill you, and that I was making a bigger deal out of this than I needed to and making Trish feel bad. Yes, making her feel bad. All the comments from my last post were swirling around in my head, and I told him he needs to stop being a son and start being a father. He screwed up his face and said he would always be Trish's son, and that was the point, that nobody should speak to his mother the way I had the day before, and I needed to apologize to clear the air. I felt like I had entered some kind of weird twilight zone where I had accidentally married a 9-year-old instead of an adult man, so I just asked him to open the car so we could leave. He repeatedly refused, then walked back inside and said he would see me in there when I was acting more reasonable. You can probably guess what happened next. I'd left my bag on the passenger seat, so he probably assumed my keys were in there. Nope. I waited 30 seconds, then just hopped into the car and drove away. My phone blew up with a million calls from him, Trish and my father-in-law. Eventually my mom and dad and my sister Jess, who I'm super close with, called as well. I'd briefly texted Jess about what was happening the day before, but she was stunned to get the full blow-by-blow. By the time I was on the open road, I asked her to phone Jack and tell him he could walk home for all I care. Once she heard my side of the story, and not Jack's, which was apparently that I'd gone crazy, frightened Trish, snatched Annie and sped away, she calmed down. Mom, Dad and Jess offered to start driving and meet me halfway so I could switch with one of them and wouldn't have to drive the full 12 hours by myself in one day. I was so grateful to see them I pretty much broke down in a truck stop parking lot while I blubbered that I loved them. They all took turns driving while I had a rest. It was super reassuring to talk it over and hear that Trish and Jack are the unreasonable ones. Once we got back, I stayed at my parents' overnight and they said I could stay as long as I needed. The next few days were fairly tense. I was up most of the night making sure Annie didn't scratch, Which she did anyway, somehow. And it seemed like she just cried and cried and cried until she was exhausted. She has 5 scars on her face and a few others on her arms from scratching. I know appearances shouldn't matter, but I'm so angry her skin is marked for life now over some stupid bullshit. This whole thing is just something I never expected to happen. I answered one of Jack's calls only to have him start a rant that he didn't recognize this person I had become, so I hung up on him. He was due to come back for the start of the work year, which I wasn't looking forward to, but I figured we could make it work as long as Trish was 12 hours away. Then at like 11 p.m. one night I got a very short and formal text from father-in-law via Jack's phone, saying Trish had come down with shingles and was in the emergency room, that Jack was staying there to care for her, and that he would work from their house remotely once the year started back up. Jack's been there for the past few weeks tending to Mama's every whim. I'm sure she's put on an Oscar-worthy performance of having one foot in the grave, and according to Google it should be any day now that her painful, crusty pustules go gently into that sweet night. A few weeks ago I was honestly so tired and overwhelmed and in disbelief that I didn't know what to do. Now I'm back at home with people who actually care about me. I think I'm starting to realize how lucky I am to see the weird relationship with his mommy this early on. The fact that he cares more about Trish than his own daughter speaks volumes. When he eventually comes back I think we'll have to have a serious talk about our future together. TL.er, mother-in-law infects my 1-year-old with chicken pox on purpose. Husband supports his mommy. He tries to force me to apologize to her by locking our daughter in the car, but I peace out with a spare set of keys. Husband has barely spoken to me in the weeks since. Mother-in-law came down with shingles, so he's staying with her to nurse her back to health. I don't think any amount of TLC can do the same for our relationship now I've seen the real him. Woo! Top comments. Tina Pesto, he locked your daughter in the car, holy shit. And assumed you wouldn't be able to get her out. I mean, that was why he locked her in, to threaten you. Holy shit. Good on you for dipping out of there after that. Whatever happens with your marriage moving forward, you seem to have your parenting priorities straight. Good luck, and I hope Annie feels better soon. Bugs doing things. Yeah, this. He locked a sick baby in the car. Kudos to OP for handling that with a cool head because I would have lost my shit, Demonix. That is fucking terrifying behavior out of him. That poor baby is going to grow up with that as a father. Skullbearer, you only get shingles if you've had chickenpox, the new vaccine prevents it. Rather ironic. I'd get divorce papers served before Mummy Dearest decides your daughter should become a breatharian or join Scientology. My husband is convinced I am pregnant. I'm not, but he won't believe me. What should I do? I'm truly at a loss here. This situation has gotten worrying and I don't know what to do with it. After about a week my husband became convinced I'm pregnant. I have no idea why because I'm not. We haven't even started trying, though we do have plans in the future. We were just making conversation and yeah, I did mention feeling tired. But that's all. A few hours later he just came in so excited. I told him I'm not, but he won't let it go. He has made remarks about how happy he is, what a wonderful mother I'll be, what our baby will be like. Not all the time, but it has come up multiple times a day. I told him I'm not. I even took a test, because even I started wondering. And it was undoubtedly negative. I showed him and he just got annoyed, said tests can be wrong. He didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. The next morning he acted as if nothing happened. When I tell him I'm not, he just kind of shuts me out. I lost my shit yesterday when we were in bed and he put his hand on my stomach, told him he's acting crazy. I'm not pregnant and his behavior is scaring me. He went to sleep in the guest room after that and left for work early in the morning. I haven't seen him or spoken to him today. I'm just at a loss. I don't know where this obsession is coming from. I even asked him if I gained weight, if that's what's gotten him confused. He assured me I didn't. I'm thinking of contacting his parents. Or maybe a therapist or something. I honestly don't understand what's happening and I'm worried about my husband. Edit, next day. Edit. Thank you for all the replies. I didn't expect all this. It's been overwhelming and I'm incredibly grateful. He's asleep next to me right now and I keep going through all the comments. My husband is one of the kindest people I've ever met. I promise you all that he's not trying to manipulate me, or would do anything to harm me. But that does make me believe something is really wrong. I'll contact Mai and his parents in the morning, once he's left for work. Maybe go stay with my mom for a bit, though I hate the idea of leaving him like this. I also definitely will make an appointment with my doctor for a blood test. Thank you for all the advice. Relevant comments. To a longer comment addressing the fact that this could be a delusion and delusions can become violent. OOP. Oof, this reply hit me hard. I appreciate it a lot. I'm very torn. I love my husband very much and am worried about him right now, but I feel increasingly uncomfortable at home as well. Commenter, downvoted. The whole phantom pregnancy thing usually only affects women. But one supposes a guy could have it too. Obviously, as time goes on and you don't produce a bump or a baby, he'll recognize that you're not pregnant. But this probably isn't some profound mental illness on his part. Just the fervid wish that you could both start working on becoming parents soon. Maybe talk to him about your timeline. At 32, he's probably just more in the ready-to-be-dad phase of life than you are in the ready-to-mom phase at 26. So remind him that you've still got time. OOP, downvoted. I'll try to do that. It just feels like such a weird response to wanting a child. Commenter, replying to OOP, this is not an urgent enough response to what seems like a pretty serious delusion. This behavior isn't normal or explicable in reasonable terms. OOP. Fair, it is very unlike him. I might call my mom, ask her if I can stay with them for a bit. If only to get all of this sorted. I just want him to snap out of it. I miss my husband as I know him. Commenter, would he harm you if he thought you got an abortion? Because that's a possibility. He may accuse you of having an abortion if you get medical confirmation that you're not pregnant after he's decided that you are. OOP, I hadn't even thought of that. Sorry. Thanks for your reply, commenter. The first time I got pregnant, my husband knew before I did. He had a feeling. Home test said negative, but a blood test showed positive. OP, oh my, that's wild. Either way, I'll meet with my gyno, if only to have some conclusive proof that I'm not. Mini update 1 in comments. August 7th, 2024, next day after edit. Things escalated yesterday. But I'm with my mom and his parents are at our place. Update post, August 9th, 2024, 2 days later, 4 from OG post. Hi everyone, I hope it's okay I post this update. I really appreciate everyone asking if I'm safe, and I am. I wish I could give clear answers but I can't. Things escalated when I tried to speak to him, keeping some of y'all's advice in mind. I sat him down and explained to him that I'd love to have kids with him in the future but that I'm not pregnant right now, and that his insistence worries and scares me. I told him we could go to the doctor together if that would put his mind at ease, or I could take another test in front of him. I was just hoping to snap him out of it somehow. He got very agitated, said many hurtful things and accused me of being a liar many times. That I'm trying to keep our baby away from him, and so on. Nothing made sense and I wasn't feeling safe anymore. I knew my husband would never harm me in any way, but that wasn't my husband. Things got worse. He did hurt me but nothing permanent or even emergency care worthy. I also know that if he was in his right mind, he never would have done anything like this. I called mine and his parents and I'm now staying with my mom. He did seem to calm down a bit when his parents arrived. I haven't seen or spoken to him since then. His mother, she's an angel, is keeping me posted about everything. We all agree something is very off about him and we don't know what it is. But he hasn't agreed to getting himself checked out in any way. I don't know how they'll go about it, but they say, and I painfully have to agree, that it's best to keep my distance for a bit, as most of it is aimed at me. I'm safe, so is he. I miss him so much and just want an answer as to why he's being like this. I keep trying to figure out if there were signs before, or what I did wrong. Thank you all for the replies, they were a great help. It's so kind you cared to ask if I'm safe. Relevant comment. Commenter, let's pray it's not drugs, since he refuses to get checked out. I'm so sorry OP, I hope everything gets better soon. I don't know if going back to him is a good idea though, he physically hurt you. OOP, I do think that whatever is causing this, is the reason he hurt. We've been together for some years now and he's never even raised his voice at me up until this. OOP responds to many commenters and thanks them. Thanks. I've been reading all the comments, you guys are all so kind to me. But I'm scared shitless about what it could be, reading everyone's experience. Mini update 2 in comments, August 11th, 2024, 2 days later. He has apparently agreed to get himself checked out, but I haven't heard anything else. Mini update 3 in comments, August 15th, 2024, 10 days from OG post. He's in the hospital, many people were right about it being a medical issue. I'll get more into it at some point, maybe, but first I need to see what's going to happen with him. I've seen him a couple of times. Sometimes he's his normal self, sometimes he can't stand the sight of me. We're managing somehow. Update post 2, August 16th, 2024, 11 days from OG post. I don't know if anyone will see this here, but you've all been so kind to keep asking whether or not we're okay. I hope I'll reach you like this. I'm going to keep this short. My husband has a brain tumor. A lot of people commented on this, and I feel an immense amount of guilt that I hadn't considered it till then. All the headaches and other symptoms, in hindsight, we had previously dismissed because of his stressful work situation and so on. I'm beating myself up that I hadn't seen it before. A wonderful team of neurosurgeons, oncologists and other physicians is figuring out the best approach here, if there is one. We'll hear more in the next few days. I've spent more time with my husband. Some moments he's his amazing self, others he's filled with anger. It's difficult, but we're managing. I wouldn't have been able to without the support of our friends and family. I love my husband. This situation is terrifying. In moments of clarity he's trying to make me laugh, so I don't worry, that's who he is. Thank you everyone for pushing me to get him checked out. Relevant comments, OOP clarifies. I'm home now, but my husband's in the hospital. Commenter, in his moments of clarity does he recognize how he's been acting? Or is there always some level of reality distortion? OOP, he seems mostly very confused, if that makes any sense. He has apologized, but his mind is just not working with him right now. Commenter, OP, this is not the first time I've seen a thread on Reddit where a brain tumor caused significant behavior changes. I hope the surgeons are able to remove it and your husband's previous personality comes back. Have the doctors given you any info on what to expect after the tumor has been removed? OOP, right now it's the question if it can be removed. There's a lot we don't know right now. The doctors and nurses have been incredibly kind though.